coming to New York in 1899 from Europe. During a voyage, he goes to look at one of the boxes he's carrying, and when no one is watching, he opens it up, and he pulls out a piece of paper, and inside of it is something he had built for him by a man who studied ancient Kabbalah magic. The paper he holds in his hand is the words to activate what's inside of it, and he does. And what comes out of the box is what appears to be a woman. This is actually a golem who is constructed from clay and is built in service of the master. In this case, the man who activated her. Unfortunately for the golem, the man died on the ship. So people on the boat thinking that she is the wife of this man, but it comes into complications when she doesn't have any records of her on board the ship. So escaping, she's now wandering around New York, where, almost getting into trouble, she comes under the wing of a rabbi who instantly recognizes what she is. And he tries to help her adapt to this new world. And around the same time in New York, in the area of Little Syria, a tinsmith has been given this little copper flask with some writings on it. It was an old heirloom, given to him by the lady who runs the coffee shop. He is asked to repair it, so as he's working on it, something happens. And then, before he knows it, there is a man naked on the floor with an iron band around his wrist. And finding out that this man is a Jinni, now bound in a human form. He was captured by a wizard a long time ago. Before that, he was just wandering around the desert, doing whatever he liked, changing forms to whatever he wanted to, animals, what have you, sometimes even humans. But for the most part, he lives alone in solitude. Now he's stuck in a human body in an unknown land, in a city. While fascinating as it is, kind of a bit of a problem because he's surrounded by water, which is a harmful thing for genies, since they're made out of fire. So, in order to adjust where he's at, hopefully find out what happened to him, he is now as an apprentice to the tinsmith. Very easy for him, since he's made out of fire, he can shape and melt metals however he wishes. So here we have two beings that are not human, and trying to adjust to the life in New York in 1899. What will happen if these two come across each other? What kind of friendship can they develop, if one at all? There's an old saying that you can't judge a book by its cover, but if the cover is done right, it should attract you to the book and make you want to buy it and read it. That was the case when I picked up Helene Wecker's book of the Golem and the Jinni. It's a very beautiful cover here. It shows a famous arch that you find in New York, very atmospheric. And so with a title like this and this, okay, it got me hooked. So what was it about? Well, I just gave the introduction about how the two main characters, the Jinni and the Golem, and what's also fascinating is the fact that the characters around him. You got the lady who runs a coffee shop who owned a copper flask. One of the rich aristocratic women here who lives in New York that the Jinni meets by chance in the park. The rabbi who takes care of the Golem has a nephew, and there's events involving around him. One of the most interesting ones for me is the ice cream seller who used to be a doctor in the Middle East, and to an unfortunate event, he now can't look at people's faces. He can't see the world as we do. What's his story? Then there's also the antagonist who ends up is drawn to New York because of these two. What's his connection to these two? Well, I'll let you find out. His story is also fascinating as well. So, if you like sort of that contemporary fantasy, well, near contemporary, it takes place over 100 years ago, and that's what also I like about this one. While it takes place in New York, it's not modern day New York. So there's this other distance through time, and where New York was a bit different, and that gives it a tone and atmosphere about it. And you got two characters who, not even human, yet trying to adapt to the human world. So, and then the events that happen, based on their actions and consequences. As I said, if you like things like contemporary fantasies, or particularly Neil Gaiman, if you ever read his work American Gods and such, this is probably a good book to read up along the same lines. Golem and the Jinni by Helene Wecker, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, came out I think last year or so by Harper Books. Check it out. It's well worth the read. Thank you very much.